planner friends, and welcome to the first video from me in about 6 months now. During that time, it wasn't necessarily a planner hiatus. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice that I was continuously planning, and I was probably my most productive during that period, only because I found a system that works really well for me, at least in that time and place that I was in. And this was also the same system that I introduced in my last video, and it was the bullet journal system. So that's what I've been doing for the past 6 months. I think it's some sort of record for me to be in this planner for that long, but I'll show you and we'll go through what's been happening in that area. So this might be a little bit of a long video. So first off, something that's a little bit different is this cover. Now, as I explained in my earlier video, I have had that same bullet journal, that same loose term in army green for over a year. And because of the wear and tear that just amasses over time, I decided that I wanted to protect it because it was clear that I wasn't really going through pages as quickly as I anticipated. So I tried a Chic Sparrow A5 that I purchased secondhand from eBay, and it was very lovely and it works. I just wasn't 100% sold on the elastics that are still in the middle because it is a traveler's notebook. So I was on the lookout for a different option, and Foxy introduced their perfect fit A5 covers for this loose term A5 journal specifically. So I went with that, and this is the Stella leather. It's a newer leather too. As you can see, it has beautiful scuffs, wear patterns already just from the wear of my book. I embossed a little, or I had them emboss a little moon, and you can see the divots and everything that this leather is acquiring, and I really love it. The only thing I'm not too fond of was this pink elastic. To me, I don't think I'm a big pink person, but as I see here, I have many pink pens. I just wanted to try something different, so I got the pink elastic, but it is showing not so great wear in that it's discoloring a bit and it looks a little dirty. But I also purchased the pen holder that has like the pen sling attached to the elastic, and that's in gray, so at some point I'll just swap it out. No problem.
So here's the voiceover portion of the video as I walk through my whole bullet journal setup. And here in the inside, you'll notice right away that there are some fantastic crisp-cut pockets. The only issue I see with that is that if you already have things attached to your cover that are kind of peeling away, or they're not firmly flat and flush with the cover, the pockets kind of interact with it. So it's liable to maybe pry those things up, like it did with the initial stickers that I had on there for a little bit. But that's just a minor deal. As you can see, it's not really harming the bear sticker at all. Now there are 3 pockets technically to this crisp cut pattern, and the first pocket there that seems to be really neat is the pocket I keep all of my little sticky notes, film sort of highlighting stickers, and notepads in, which are just handy to have on the go. And I tend to use just the standard post-it flags and the same Hobonichi film stickers that I've had for over a year now. And that is a Target notepad that I purchased a little bit ago, but still one of my favorites and perfect for grocery lists. Now in the second pocket, I have my education plan for my degree, and I'm about to wrap up my bachelor's degree, and I'm super excited. And on the inside, I keep some pay stubs because I deposit everything online anyways, and I still haven't transferred that new job to direct deposit. And I also keep this very slim Hobonichi A6 size notebook because I do not take my Hobonichi with me every day, and that is my daily journal. So if I feel the need to write, I don't know, some idea I have, or to create a journal entry, I can do it on this paper, and since it is perforated, when I get home I can just rip it out and paste it into my Hobonichi. And I also have this sticker sleeve, which is a more recent addition to the setup. I had all these sticker sheets just floating around, not really in one place, within the pages of my bullet journal and the various pockets of the cover, so I just corralled them all in one location so that I could use them a little easier, because I find I tend to only use things that I see or have easy access to, so that's why they are there. Now, another fantastic feature of this cover is that it allows playthrough for the elastic that the journal already comes with, and that is an extra touch of security, especially if you don't want to open your notebook, but you just want to like grab a note or something like that. Now the only issue is, while it does allow access to the pocket that's built into the journal, the flap is really meant to secure the notebook in place, so I feel like repeated access into that pocket would cause the leather to kind of warp and stretch out and may make it a little bit less secure over time. But I guess that's also why they have the access for the elastic, because it will always be secure if you employ that elastic. But to be honest, I tend to get lazy, and I do not. But if I'm carrying this around at work, like I frequently do, I try to put that elastic down so I can access notes and post things to the cover to file away for later. Now I kind of jumped through this beginning part only because I went over it a little bit in my previous video, but I had only used about 20 pages up until 2018, so I continued to use it and continued to play with my spreads. I'm a little bit unorthodox when it comes to bullet journaling. I did try a Calendex, but I did not utilize it for as pretty as it looked. Mainly what I use my bullet journal for is weekly spreads, and why it was so needed was because I had a lot of homework assignments for all the various classes I was taking, and I needed one place to focus all of that information in. And as beautiful as my personal planner was, it did not accommodate that sort of list, at least not easily or in a way that I was able to creatively come up with. So I just designed this sort of layout where I have my tasks and appointments on one side of the page, another side is kind of blank, and then I use another page folded in half to keep track of my homework, and also as a meal tracker, not planner, because I don't really meal plan, and that's something I should probably work on, but it's a meal tracker. And when I have the next week, I just fold it over and do the same thing again. But I keep trying to play with that other half of the page. I tend to fluctuate between trying to keep like hourly trackers or maybe like highlights of the day. But another important feature for my bullet journal is my monthly setups. I frequently reference these, and because it's an A5 size, it's really easy to create boxes that are large enough for you to actually do something with. I feel like in the personal planner, even though you do tend to get 2 pages, it's still not enough room for me. but this works out beautifully. The only issue is that I have some extra space I just don't know what to do with, and trackers are not for me. And I've realized that recently. Or this whole bullet journal half a year has made that abundantly clear. And I was pretty secure with that sort of planning style, as you saw. And here I'm trying to break up the page usage. I tried to create a sort of landing page for my expenses and for a trip to China I was thinking about. Then the next week is when I started to get a little antsy or feel a little frustrated with my spread. I think it's just my lousy layout. As beautiful as the washi is commemorating Chinese New Year, I just couldn't get a spread that worked with it. But I continued with it for the next week. But generally when I cannot create a spread that I find visually appealing, I tend to want to run away from my planner and try something different. But I stuck with it. That was also the week that I kind of stopped using my food tracker too. And on to the March monthly, I still haven't been able to really map out my weeks with my months, and I think that's something I am going to take to my next bullet journal. I want to get a little bit better about making sure one follows after the other in order. I just don't afford myself that many pages just yet, but this monthly layout I really love and I utilized the heck out of. And every time I highlight, it's when I have a work thing. And I have 2 jobs now, working at 2 different writing centers. So I keep track of them with different colors. And again, here's a little collection of my hair dye attempts. I'm missing 2. I tried to do another expense tracker, but I don't think I gave myself enough room. And these few weeks here that have this blue theme, I actually pre-planned. I tried pre-planning, and it was a combination of things. It was the Olympics were going on, and I am a multitasker in that I falsely believe that I am not devoting my attention to something unless it is split between like 2 different things. If you follow me, I only feel like I'm being productive when I'm doing more than one thing, especially if one of those things is like watching something on TV. I feel like it's a waste of my time unless I'm doing something with my hands. So I know that's a myth and I need to work through it, but at least it produced this cute little spread sequence. And it was especially helpful because this was leading up to my finals week, and I didn't have a lot of time to spare to do weekly spreads every week, so I really loved that I pre-planned that. And this was an idea I followed faithfully for a few months, which was a order tracker. I wanted to see where my money goes, and initially I thought I would just highlight the categories that my purchases fall under and calculate it that way, but I haven't actually done it because I know where my money goes to. It goes to needless school supply stuff. And here I thought I could do a collection just tracking the kind of foods I eat and what moods they correlate to, in a hope to kind of stave off any sort of food related sadness. So if I am craving those foods, I know it is a cry for help. But somehow just drawing those kept me aware of that, so that was nice. Now, this 2018 sort of year at a glance was really just to test out some stamps I got from an Etsy shop called Ink by Jen. I really love these stamps. I'm not so great at using them just yet, but I'm getting there. And what's fantastic about these little dates is that I can use my Tombow Play Dot markers just to highlight some important dates, like the days school start or end or that sort of thing. but the play dot markers have a bit of a learning curve. You have to go press down firmly, but then instead of like lifting straight up, you have to tilt it and lift off the page. So if you don't like a finicky marker, they're probably not for you. I bought them already, so I'm making them work, but I do like them. I don't think I'll buy replacements though. Now here is another monthly, and it is probably by far my favorite monthly so far. And I used some fantastic Simply Gilded washi, and this was the month I actually decided all of my blocks were going to be 7x7, so 7x7 dots. And that shape is really working out for me. This is a beginning of the quarter landing page that I created just to keep track of all the books that I needed to purchase. I included the ISBNs, which I highly recommend because when it came time to possibly sell those books back, I could quickly reference that page in my journal, type in the number, and figure out if I could get any money back for them. And I did, so huzzah, it all works. And this was my spring break spread, and it is one of my favorite spreads, but it was born out of the need to use the extras of the little washi bits that I created when I made my monthly for April. So one of my best looking spreads was just born out of sheer randomness, which, you know, makes sense, because conversely, this spread was an effort. I really wanted to use this washi, and I really tried to create something that was kind of vintage inspired, but it kind of falls flat. But I still really love the washi, so it's worth it. And here is my attempt at a sort of trip planning page. And again, as the quarter wore on, I continued to do my standard spread format, which at this point was washi on both ends, a little column for homework, and a column for all the other fun junk. Now here I'm trying to become a little less precious with my pages and trying to use them for actual note taking, especially for homework and projects and that sort of thing. But this is the early stages. As you can tell, I'm still in that place where I feel like pages need to be perfect in order to use them, which is why I rely so heavily on post-it notes, because it's almost like it's not permanent technically, and I can always get away from it. Now this April sleep tracker was when I first got my play dot markers, and I did not know how to use them, which is why they look kind of bleedy and a little super opaque. But it works out because the theme with this washi was kind of like galaxy, and they look like little moons, but I prefer those sleep trackers. And here is my May spread, which is nice and clean. At least it initially looks clean, and then as the month progresses, I just scribble all over the dang thing. And I really love the way that these are turning out. I think my monthlies are my favorite spots in my planner. And sorry for the issues with the focusing. I don't know what's going on there. But I was just trying to show off my index tabs. Now this is an exercise in just frustration. At some point, usually in April, I begin to get a little uncomfortable with my planning style. It's probably more of all the things that happen during that time period, but it causes me to explore other planners frequently. But this time around, I did not do that. I just tried to mess with my planner spread, and while it didn't work, it did teach me a few valuable lessons, which is I kind of like vertical planning. But I went back to safety for the next 2 weeks and kept up with that horizontal planning, and I tried to utilize the half for like projects and the other half again for those appointments and tasks. But this time I lost all pretense for food tracking and I just sheared off that part of the page. And again, I'm using my bullet journal more for taking project notes and class notes, which I'm super happy with myself. As ugly as those pages look, they look like they were used, and I love it. And here is another one of my favorite monthly spreads. Here again, I'm using those Ink by Jen stamps, or experimenting with it with a look back at the month previous and a look forward to the month to come. And it really looks nice, except, I don't know, maybe my ink choices weren't that great. But again, the play dot markers strike again, and I really do like them as finicky as they are. Now this is one of my earliest additions to my bullet journal, like done over a year ago, but this is essentially the way that my desk setup looks like, and off to the side I have these storage cubes from Target, and they're just kind of done in pencil because I initially thought I could work out my storage issues on paper rather than pulling out everything and making a giant mess on my floor. And I still feel like I can do that, but I really haven't used this page at all. Same with this sort of gas tracker car stuff spread that I initially had super high hopes for. I haven't touched it since I made it, and again, that was like over a year ago. And you can see some really thin columns shadowing on the other side, and that's because I pasted pages together, which I tend to do if something is really egregiously awful that I just can't deal. Like this spread I didn't use, but I didn't cover it up because there was still something to be said. But here is my favorite weekly spread in my bullet journal, and it was done using some of the stencils in this really fantastic Ink by Jen bullet journal bookmark. And I use this anyways to do like the circles for my appointments and that sort of thing, but I was just playing with the sort of square options at the bottom, and this was my first fully vertical sort of plan setup. And I still have my little homework column, but this time I'm separating my tasks and events and appointments from like other things, which can be highlights or something else. And here is my pitiful 2018 books read sort of list, and I have very few colored in, and I blame school for that because I have a lot of disjointed like article readings and that sort of thing to do for my degree. But I am getting back on the reading horse, and I'm also keeping a track of like reflections once I finish the books that I read. And this was a week where I try to recapture the magic from the previous week, and it kind of falls flat, but I think that's because I didn't have a lot going on, and I need to get used to the fact that it's perfectly okay to have blank pages or blank spots in your spreads. And I think I was during this week, which is really pretty. And I really love this Simply Gilded washi. I did cancel my subscription after the carousel month, only because I was just acquiring way too many washi rolls way too fast. And I use them a lot, just not enough to warrant that amount. And this week I tried something different with incorporating a sticker kit that I've had for a while, just because it was my husband's birthday week, and he and I are huge fans of Adventure Time. I still needed my homework landing page, but this time I doodled an enchiridion and colored it in with some zebra fine liners. And after one of those super complicated weeks, I tend to do a more basic week, and this was just one type of washi. which has these photorealistic flowers, and then using play dot markers to make the leaves as well as just the confetti dots all around. And this was my finals week. This was another early addition to my bullet journal where I thought I would practice lettering, specifically serif lettering, because I really love it and I think it looks really nice, but I haven't used it. Here's a de-stash list, a sort of post-it note landing page, and this was last week, my first week of summer break, and I just threw down all the things I had onto this page, including some new additions like that other floral washi and this very cute post-it note that I got from an Etsy seller, which I will post. And this was also the week that I kind of revisited a forgotten multi-pen. I mean, this multi-pen is really fantastic. It's the Hitexi Coletto that I've kind of looked over and have been focusing more on like Jet Street pens, but if you need a gel pen or if you like that needle point sort of tip, it's consistent and I miss it, so I'm going back, especially since I have so many refills. And that's the only real issue, is that you go through ink quite quickly, but I find it's okay for the color payoff. Now this was a recent addition, and it is my binge watch list for the summer. This is really just what I've been watching in the past week since I've been out of school and only had work to attend. And I used my Le Pen drawing pens to create this, and I do not recommend them because they do not play well with my zebra mild liners or any other wet medium that you might throw down on there. So keep that in mind. I still think microns are the best fine liners for like archival quality, but I'm meaning to try the Stedler artist quality fine liners, so I might try that here soon. And that's just a list of movies that I've watched so far this summer anyways, and again, this summer has only been a week. And here is my June sleep tracker, which I brought back, and again I'm using those play dot markers, which I really like because it's easy to do and it's easy to visualize the actual number of hours you're putting into something. And I have some already pre-decorated reading log pages, and my next attempt at an expense tracker with extra room, so hopefully I'll stick with it. Here is my July monthly, which I've already done, and it looks beautiful, and I'm using more stamps because it's the summer and I have time to stamp, so that's why those are there. And this is this week, which I did while rewatching Parks and Rec, and it's just a little manic and all over the place, just like my personal hero, Leslie Knope. But it kind of works out. I always have issues with my summer planning because there's kind of not that much going on. I know I need to change this summer, especially with graduation on the horizon. I need to figure out if I'm going to apply to grad school or just a credential program, or if I need to do some volunteering somewhere. I just need to put a little bit more effort in my existence. Now here is a page I initially did a few months ago. Just tried to think of what I would put in a potential summer planner because I thought I would move into an A6 size notebook for the summer, but I realized I had probably 75 pages left, and it wasn't very responsible to just up and move into a new planner, so I'm sticking with this one. I do have another A5 size actual bullet journal branded loose term in the wings waiting for me, and I'm super excited, but that will not happen until August. I feel August is the perfect time to move over because that is when my final semester of school starts. And this is where I'm keeping just an inventory kind of my favorite washi tapes. And they're all from the same sort of designer. It's Eric, and it's the Small Things line. And I've really only found it at Cute Things from Japan. And I've done a video where I've done a haul from them, so I'll post a link to that video as well as a link to their website. Now these pages are detachable. They're the perforated pages, and I really use these sometimes for notes, but recently they're for things I want to migrate over into my next bullet journal. So here is my updated High-Tech C inventory for all the inks I have, and as well as this Sephora Sun Safety Kit tracker, because I'm a pale person who's willing to invest in good quality sunscreen. I just don't know what's out there, so this little sampler bag was perfect, and I just need to color that in with my micron and keep track of which ones I liked. So far I've had this kit for about 2 months, and I'm still on my first little sample, so I don't know if you can still find it, but it was a fantastic deal. So if it comes around next year, do not sleep on that sort of project because it is well worth it. I think it was less than $30 for all of the samples and one full size. And I'm just showing off that I put the expiration dates because I was being super thorough. And you can see I've already used some perforated pages, but the very last one is my pen test page, which looks very well worn and very used, and I love it. Here's where I try every single medium before I actually put it on to my bullet journal pages, because I know this paper isn't the best, but I like that it's thin. I don't think I can go to another notebook. I might try Scribbles That Matter at some point if I find this planner system is still working for me, but I know Rhodia makes really lovely paper, but apparently their dots are kind of darker, and I don't think I can deal with that. So I will make the concessions and use pens that might not be that opaque. But honestly, I don't really care if it shadows. The only thing I have issue with is if a pen bleeds. And as you can see, despite having like 75 to 50 pages left to go, it's a little bulging. Not as bad as some people's, but then again, a lot of people are creative and they watercolor and all that sort of thing. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will create more soon. Bye.